3, 2, and 1. All right, Dieter and Hutch. We're here at 49ers Rookie Minicamp. God bless us. God bless everyone for doing such a terrible, no good thing. And Jake, I'm not gonna lie to you. I had a pretty good time.
I did too.
At Rookie
I
Minicamp.
did too. There were a lot of complaints about the fact that we were here, not from us,
Not from
but
us.
just in general.
This is unequivocally our shit.
I love it. We
Yeah.
just got to watch like the interior offensive line, just a bunch of beefy
Woo!
boys. Like what I saw to Drake Nugent,
Yes, we did.
Jarrett Kingston, Dominic Puni was kind of as we expected.
There's something there.
I kind of think Isaac Alarcon could be good in 3 years.
Yeah.
He looked like a tight end or a defensive end, depending on how you see it.
Get him on that good American diet. Beef him up a little bit. I
Yeah.
think you stand a chance.
He's more athletic than Alfredo Gutierrez was.
Well,
so.
let's go through the guys that people want to talk about, and then we can talk about the guys that they don't know about, as, of course, we're at Levi's Stadium,
Right.
which means that we're right in the line of
Planes.
air travel.
It's all good.
All right, Ricky
Soon as you
Pearsall,
Yeah.
number 1 overall pick
Yep.
for the 49ers. I didn't see anything to make me worry.
Nothing changed. That's exactly what I thought.
Boy, sudden.
Yeah, I mean, again, the only thing with him is like going to be strength and whether
Yeah.
he can play through contact.
Well, and that kind of leads me to the second-round pick with Renardo Green, who
Yeah.
I thought locked him up a couple times, and
That guy can jam. That guy can press. Like,
he knows where to put his hands. I thought that was
Yeah.
a really interesting development. Like,
I will say, Pearsall beat him.
oh yeah,
On a.
he got his licks in.
Yeah, he faked him out and then I think it was a sluggo, and
Ooh,
he just
looky
beat
you.
him deep.
Yeah.
But it was like really fun. Like I can't wait to watch that. I think they're training Renardo Green at nickel.
Did you see him at nickel at all today? Nick Sorensen said he was going to.
He played close to line of scrimmage. The way
Yeah.
we interpreted what Nick Sorensen, who we talked to for the first time today,
Shadow defensive coordinator.
the way I and you, I think, have both interpreted it is that basically they're not certain who their nickel besides Diamond or Lenore will be, and
Right.
maybe they'll say Lenore should do the thing where he plays nickel and then he'll
The outside-inside thing?
Yeah, but
Which
they
I
don't,
hate.
I don't like it either. I think he should just stay at nickel. He's fantastic there, and I think they do have better options outside.
Yeah.
But the way we interpret it is like Green needs to learn how to play nickel. He already knows how to play outside corner.
Mm-hmm.
So you train him now on how to play nickel, and if it sticks, then you have a guy who could slot inside if Lenore gets hurt.
I mean, they did sign Chase Lucas.
Right.
Thought he was supposed to be a slot, corner, nickel,
Yeah.
whatever.
I think it's more of a let's like see what his versatility is,
yeah.
or if he's just outside. But I'm with you. I think Renardo Green's an outside corner. I think Lenore is better on the inside, and I think realistically that's how he'll keep it.
I think Renardo Green is not just an outside corner. I think he has a chance to be really good
I do
really,
too.
really soon. Again, we're just watching half of the guys, if not more, out there.
Right.
have
And it's
no
only
business.
7. It's only 7-on-7s.
Yeah,
too.
no business being on an NFL field. Like, not to, the Niners just brought in dudes, and they want to see what
Right.
happens. One of the guys that they brought in, they wanted to see what happened. This kid Patrick out of Southern Utah, Timothy Patrick. Tim Patrick is a wide receiver in the NFL,
Yes.
is he not?
Yes.
Out of Utah,
I don't know if he's out of Utah.
he plays
but
for the Broncos.
Yes.
Pretty sure he went to Utah.
That sounds right.
So this is
is
the other
Tim-
Tim
Timothy
Patrick.
Patrick.
Timothy from Southern Utah,
Yeah.
which I believe is in St. George, Utah. So basically Arizona.
It was great. He had no gloves. He was awesome.
I thought he was really good.
He was fun.
He also got cramped up, which kind of sucks for him.
Yeah. Another guy puked a lot.
Yeah, a couple
Uh,
times, like right in front of us.
You know, power through
You
it.
got to respect it, and then he dogged it for the rest of practice. We're not going to name him because there's no reason to be mean.
To be fair, I would also vomit.
Oh
I
yeah.
would projectile vomit if I went out there. So I'm not shaming anyone. Just what happened.
All right, 3rd round pick, Dominic Puni out of Kansas.
Yep.
He was pretty much everything I thought he was,
Yep.
and I wasn't high on the pick in general.
I was pretty lukewarm on it.
Yeah, he still takes too many steps. When he gets his hands on you, you've
Yeah.
got, which
Yeah.
is impressive.
He's
It's
got
NFL
he packs
quality.
a punch. Yeah.
But I'm concerned about his mobility skills. He's also kind of weirdly shaped. I don't know how to put that. Like, not in like he doesn't have an
Right.
NFL body. It's for a man who is unquestionably large. He has kind of narrow shoulders, but
Mhm.
really big arms, and then
He
kind of
does have huge
skinny
arms.
legs.
Yeah.
And it's like, maybe that's a benefit. Maybe that's something. He does look
Yeah.
lighter than he is. He
You
looks.
compared him to McKivitz, which I think is about right. Like he does seem like he he seems much more of a guard than McKivitz, which is where he's going to play.
I mean, a lot of people still think McKivitz is a guard.
Right. I mean, I think Cooney,
he's swing tackle guard.
Yeah.
I think he'll compete for guard.
Yep.
I thought Kingston, the 6th-round pick out of USC, was a much better player today in these drills, which are, of course, everything.
Yeah.
And
I
thought Kingston looked
really
great.
matters. Drake Nugent, though.
Let's talk about our boy, because I want to plant a flag right here and now for anybody out there. There's a lot of 49ers podcasts. We're technically not even one anymore.
By the way, this is the launch of Dieter and Hutch.
Yeah, which
we forgot to mention.
What an incredible
what a
debut.
rebrand.
Yeah. No, we're just gonna do it shittier this time with one microphone awkwardly held between us.
I was gonna
We were gonna do 2, but then if you're holding the
Right.
other microphone and it doesn't work, then it's gonna sound weird, because then this microphone's here and I could do this. We could do this. Then we're doing a stand up.
Then it's uncomfortable for everybody.
Mainly me.
It's already there.
Regardless. The Nuge is a stallion. I'm in awe of the Nuge. This guy's got it.
I can't wait until, because him and Evan Anderson out of FAU.
The meatball.
Yeah. So it's going to be
the real sickos know about the meatball.
It's going to be 2 bowling balls, because Nugent's a guy, to me, like Jackson Powers Johnson, who is trying to move to guard for the Raiders. I don't see it. I think he's a center, squatty. Nugent is a similar frame to me. He's got like a big belly, but he's muscled up, and he can
looks
move.
Like, I get in trouble for my overarching comps. They're always a bit too aggressive.
Right.
I would like to say that apparently Daniel Jeremiah is a subscriber to the show. Daniel Jeremiah, shout out. Because when I watched NFL Network, all the same comps, just every one of them, all of my ridiculous outside, just like that's a top player in the league. Like all of those comps, he popped them on. So here we go. The Nuge reminds me a lot of Jason Kelsey.
Ooh, yeah.
He's got the same shape,
Right.
like not humanoid.
Right.
Kind of Oompa Loompa-y.
He's like, it's weird because it's like he's so wide and stout, but it's like all muscle.
All muscle.
Like
this dude wrecked in high school wrestling. I don't even know if he did it, but you know he did. I got to look that up. The Nuge, captain at Stanford, went to Michigan. I don't know what else we need to say. Like this guy is going to be the starting center for the 49ers.
I think
year.
That was my like long shot hot shot prediction. Hot shot prediction? My hot take. Is that like second half of the year I could see him, because the 49ers, they ask so much of their centers.
Yeah.
I just think they're going to trust Jake Brendel, because he gets the job done.
He's
not
got
like
that sweet short shuttle.
Right, like he's athletic. He's not like a star center, but like he does what he has to do.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's the problem on that offensive line. I don't think he's like raises the level of the offensive line.
But
I think
do better. You could do a whole lot worse.
I think the problem was that the right guard spot was so weak, and and it's not so much that Burford doesn't have potential, or
they don't
but
seem to like him very much. I don't know how.
They added a lot,
and then they stopped liking him.
Yep.
So that tells me something. And then they got a bunch of guys who could theoretically replace him.
This is the most excited I've ever been about an offensive line group they have. I think they got a lot of athletes. They got a lot of guys who can either play center or guard.
Yeah.
And I think they might keep like a bunch of them.
They should. There's no reason not to.
Unless they think they can't make it to the practice. Unless they think they can get them to the practice squad. But I think there's at least a handful of these guys that are
we might
really
have just
intriguing.
ruined Drake Nugent getting to the practice squad, so that's a problem.
Yeah.
I mean,
we're real movers and shakers out here.
Listen, every time you watch the draft, what's the first? It's like, God damn, do they watch the show?
Right.
Okay, a couple other guys I want to go over. I thought Jacob Cowing was fine.
Yeah.
Again,
he did what we expected to do.
Exactly. Like he has 5 things that he does very well, and everything else don't ask him to do.
Drags, little quick outs.
Oh yeah.
But he wins on those, and he's got really good hands, except for maybe returning punts.
Do not have him returning punts.
Well, maybe it'll take time.
Well, he was trying to catch a punt, and Jake, if you would hold this, please, for all of our viewing audience, he was trying to catch punts like this, which seems inadvisable.
It's not what you're supposed to do.
And they ended up putting towels under his arms to make him stop doing that. So he's not a punt returner.
Maybe.
Probably not a kick returner either.
We'll see.
Slick Boy Rick looked pretty good in those, though.
First practice.
Malik Mustafa. Everything we ever thought he'd be in more.
I didn't get a chance to see too much of him, but he moves well.
Whew.
And I can't wait to see him hit somebody, because
it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem at training camp. He is He is
like
muscle.
him and Jair Brown.
He is muscle.
That's like, it's such a fun safety group. Like, as much as like I've criticized Talanoa Hufanga's coverage skills, and I love Hufanga as a person.
He brings the wolf.
And he's also like so good in the box, like around the line of scrimmage.
Just let him play Sam linebacker.
Yeah, like and they missed it, and they missed his like blitzing prowess.
Yeah.
But that's a fun safety group. It's a really fun safety group.
My concern with safeties is always, especially if you're going to bank on 2 young guys, because Hufanga, you know what he is. He's not someone who like sees he's just a playmaker.
Right.
Which is a extremely positive quality. No one's arguing that. But like, also the last person perhaps on the entire roster I'd want in a one-on-one situation against somebody in the slot. So there's that, as we saw. But my concern with young safeties, Jair Brown, who I'm very high on, that's well on the record. And then Mustafa's your dude. He's everybody's dude now. Like the praise for Mustafa's off the charts around here.
Yep.
They are children. I know that Mustafa's like 24, but like they're baby children.
Right.
And
I mean, that's
NFL quarterbacks.
Right. That is the thing though. They did draft guys who none of them are like they were all year. Mustafa was the only guy that wasn't a 5th year. I think he was a 4-year guy.
It's true.
So that's, I don't know.
But he didn't redshirt.
Right. Right.
So you got guys. You know, this is a Bob Fitzgerald class. A lot of 4-year college players.
Right.
Which you need.
Know the game.
You need that if you are a team like the 49ers, and you need to reestablish depth immediately.
Right.
Okay, let's just go over a couple other guys here. The running backs, Garendo and
Cody Schrader.
Cody Schrader.
Cody Schrader, I mean, just he knows what he's doing. Like, he moves, and he's quicker than, like, it's weird. His testing was so bad, but when you watch his tape, like, you see,
you don't need to tell me, buddy.
You see some limitations, but, like, man, he knows what he's doing as a running back. He can move.
He's awesome.
He's way quicker than he tested.
Yeah.
I just think he's maybe he might be a practice squad guy, but I think there's a real chance for him to make the roster.
I think they're going to have a hell of a time getting him to the practice squad because you know he's going to blow up in preseason.
And Garendo, man, like Garendo's a guy where, again, we have a lot of questions about. He didn't produce that much. He has a lot of questions of like how to actually play the position.
Yes.
But there was one play where I think it was it was like a Texas route or something over the middle.
Oh, yeah.
And he got it. And he just, the way, like, it was like, you know, if you ever watch, like, motocross, I was giving this comp to you earlier,
he got low.
Where they get side to side.
Dragging that knee.
He, like, his balance and ability to cut while, like, maintaining speed was super impressive.
He's Raheem Mostert 2.0. He might even have a little more left-right wiggle than Raheem, but his straight-line speed is incredible. I'm not convinced on his hands. I think a lot of people are like, oh, he's going to be a great catcher of the football. I think we're all pretty spoiled.
He needs a lot of
rounding
around the edges. I mean, he was recruited as a receiver.
Yeah, and I can see why they moved him to running back. He's on the team, though. Like, he's too good an athlete. And, like, the quality is high enough.
Yeah, I do wonder if he to me feels like their kick returner. Like,
that'd be interesting. I didn't see him do anything like that today.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't think they did any kick return stuff.
Yeah.
But to me, I think they talked about that a little bit during the draft.
Yeah.
He's got the speed and the way that the kick return is going to go, where you do get guys to like get a running head start on the return. Like, he just makes too much sense to me as their kick returner.
I think Schrader has a chance to be RB1 if I'm biased, but like. He's so good. He's so good, and he's well-rounded. And you're talking one cut and go, like you were just saying with Guerrero. Like if Garendo, sorry. if he had the rounding, if the game was comprehensive and you saw it, like he wouldn't have been there.
Right.
He wouldn't have been there. He would have been
he would be
early second-round pick.
Yeah, like if he was that well-rounded, he would go in the first.
Right, with that kind of speed.
Right.
But he's a fourth, and like. You don't need that much as a well-rounded back. But, like, Schrader's a really well-rounded back. And is he elite at anything? I don't think so. I don't think it fucking matters.
You know who I compare him to? Juwan Jennings. Jennings tested pretty bad, but you watch his tape and you go, this guy kind of catches everything.
Yeah.
He somehow separates.
Best player on the field.
Right. He just made plays. And Schrader's a guy who just makes plays.
Again, you don't need to tell me.
Like, when you're betting on a guy, especially late or undrafted, you've either got to have like some sort of athleticism that you can go, holy shit,
Yeah.
we got to just take a swing on this, or a guy whose production was like, and tape is just so good that you're like, I think it's going to translate even though he doesn't have the measurables.
Well, if you wanted a tape of any player in college football last year, and I'm talking quarterback, anybody, the best tape that anyone put out was Cody Schrader.
Yep.
So the fact that no one even decided in the 7th round, let's take a flyer, was kind of preposterous.
Yeah.
Just because, again, what more did you need to see? He was the best running back in the SEC.
He's also like stout, like one of those guys that's going to be pretty hard to tackle.
Yeah.
Just because he's like so, like you.
As evidenced.
Right. He's just, and he's.
He wasn't
physical.
at South Dakota State going up against FCS. This guy was the best running back in the SEC, and he looks the part out here.
Yep.
Again, he's probably running back 3, but I think we're I think we're heading into a world where both J.P. Mason and Elijah Mitchell don't have jobs.
I think at least one of them is going to keep it. Maybe both. I think they're going to take.
If Mitchell has the job, does he really have it?
Right.
I think we're going to keep him around so that we can put him on IR in week 2. I mean, probably.
I mean, that's usually how it goes.
They will have to get really creative with the practice squad, or they're going to have to hide him in preseason with Schrader. Because Garendo, obviously, you don't have to worry about it. He's a
I don't know
draft
if you
pick.
can even hide Schrader. He had so much college production. Like,
I'm stunned he's here. Because it didn't sound like they gave him the biggest.
It's also
guarantee.
like maybe he's like the Kyle Juszczyk backup. You know, like
that was a Larry Krueger suggestion
for Garendo though. But like Schrader is like as a fullback is kind of interesting. He's got some receiving. He's got pretty good hands. Like I'm just trying to find
big enough.
I don't think he is either. But
let's talk about tight end. Let's talk about the kid out of Firma, Mason Pline. I see it.
I think he makes the roster.
I think he's there.
I think you
make the argument he's probably the second best tight end on the team. It's a very low bar.
And when we talked about Cam Latu last year, and I was like, listen, not very high on him, but he's competing with Charlie Warner and Ross Dwelly. How hard could it be to make a roster?
Shouldn't have been that hard.
Apparently very hard.
Yeah.
Mason Pline went to Furman, was a basketball player. The whole idea, by the way, real quick tangent on the debate.
Do it.
Of where people like
could y'all
almost
need hobbies.
NBA players who could they make the NFL? Yeah, most could. Like, here's the thing. People are doing this thing like, oh, would they take a hit over the middle? It's like, we're not talking about every NBA player becoming a wide receiver. Like, maybe someone would get gutted over the knees and it would take time. Like, and they bring up Draymond Green having that one bad practice in Michigan State, where he played tight end and looked lost. And to be fair, whatever. But Draymond
Green's a defensive tackle. Come on now.
Right. And also his first practice, doesn't know what's going on. It's going to take a little time to learn. That said, the athleticism, like you can't tell me that like a power forward couldn't learn to be a blocking tight end.
You certainly can't, because the Kansas City Chiefs do it every 5 years.
Right. Like I'm just telling you, like NBA players are the best athletes in the world. They're incredibly coordinated. And I'm not saying there aren't like a few NFL players who could.
I don't want Kristaps Porzingis out here, but
Right. Like there is like a thing of being too tall and then you're too like Wemby's not making it in the NBA
It'd be
NFL.
Fun to see.
It would be fun until he got destroyed.
Yeah.
I'm saying like it's not going to work for everybody, but like power forward, like.
You tell me Aaron Gordon can't play tight end?
Right.
You tell me Aaron Gordon can't play tight end?
Right. Like people are making it about wide receivers going over the middle, and it's like that's not.
We gentrified the middle of the field. You can walk.
Right.
You can walk there.
Right.
Ricky Pearsall was a first-round draft pick. If we were that concerned about that sort of
it's
stuff.
Also like
you're trying to make everyone Deebo Samuel. There's one Deebo Samuel.
Which sport would you go to? You're going to make more money. You're going to have a longer career in the NBA. Like it's just more lucrative.
It's cooler.
It's hard. It's harder because there's less spots, and it's incredibly competitive. And the numbers for contracts are insane. Like you wouldn't choose the NFL by choice if you could have made the NBA.
No, you choose it over baseball.
Oh, for sure.
Kyler Murray. Okay, one other guy I want to mention.
Oh, we didn't even talk about Pline.
Oh no, I think Pline looked good.
I think he looked good.
Now, mind you, he was being compared to two guys who had no reason to be out here. So we'll leave it at that. Here's a guy I liked. Random. Might never mention his name again in any capacity regarding football whatsoever. Isaiah Avery, cornerback, out of Portland State. I liked him.
He pressed Ricky Pearsall and forced an incompletion.
I thought he had multiple good reps. And then, there's one more guy that we were told was pretty good. We didn't get a great look at the defense, but Shackle Brown, a defensive lineman out of Troy, was here on a tryout and apparently was kicking ass. Talking about them Trojans. Let's go over the ridiculous names on this list, Jake.
Yeah, there's one in particular that's insane to me.
Is that name Mosiah Nasal Kite?
Incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, can we also mention that the quarterback sucked today?
Not great quarterback play. Ricky Pearsall won. Oh my God, he won on I don't know if it was just a straight go. He must have stopped because he beat somebody so bad. But he won by truly 10 yards over anyone near him.
And was missed by 10 yards.
And he got a hand on it over the shoulder, but it was a terrible ball. He could have.
If you were imagining the worst possible place to put the ball on a go route, Pearsall had to turn around and then stretch to his off shoulder.
If you're having Jimmy Garoppolo Super Bowl flashbacks, it was
Jimmy Garoppolo at least just overthrew it.
Yeah.
It was in the right direction. This one was offline. Tanner Mordecai's not going to be a professional quarterback much longer. Anybody else on this list interest you here? Hutch?
Not really.
We didn't get to see our meatball friend, Evan Anderson.
I want to see Evan Anderson. The 49. One thing I do want to talk about.
T.O.'s kid ain't making it, so stop asking.
One thing I do want to talk about is we talked to Nick Sorensen.
Yes,
and
the supposed defensive coordinator of the San Francisco 49ers.
And defensive tackle. They talked about the run game, and he's like, he gave pretty short answers when asked about the run game. Essentially, we figured out what went wrong, and we're gonna fix it.
Yeah,
and
his name was Eric Armstead.
We know, but Armstead
and Javon Hargrave.
Yeah, but Armstead was one of their better run defenders last
year.
For
a while, then teams figured out that you just had to hit him from the side and he would move.
Right. I just don't know if they have an answer. He talked about Jordan Elliott. I was not impressed with what I saw from Jordan Elliott on tape. There's some moments.
You know who else wasn't?
Who?
Anyone who watched the Cleveland Browns.
He was the least favored defensive tackle in the Browns rotation.
And they had 40 dudes.
Yeah.
And they drafted 4 more.
Yeah, and they were happy he was gone. And I'm not trying to just rip on Jordan Elliott. I just didn't really see it.
We're going to find out.
And they don't really have an answer, defensive tackle. They have 2 older guys, and Javon Hargrave and Malik Collins.
Yeah.
And then Jordan Elliott. And then it's Kevin Givens, who's not really a run defender. I kind of like Kevin Givens, but he's like a rotational guy.
Kevin Givens is there because you need a Kevin Givens that day.
Right.
There's no.
And then so they're betting on Jordan Elliott, and they want to. And it's basically, to me, in the run game, you've missed DJ Jones, right? So the only 2 guys I think that could possibly fill that role are Kalia Davis, who hasn't been healthy his first 2 years.
Factual.
But who they compared to DJ Jones when they drafted him.
Okay.
And then there's Evan Anderson, who they gave, I think, $280,000 guaranteed, which is whatever. It doesn't mean he's going to make the roster, but it means they think he could make the roster. He's supposed to be a gap one.
Yeah.
We'll see. I'm not sold, but we'll see.
Football's a weird sport. Defensive tackle might be the weirdest of all the positions in the weird sport. I'd like to think I know what makes a good one.
I'm not sold they have one. I just don't think
on my current rubric, I don't think they have one. I might be wrong.
I just don't know. I think they need a nose tackle in their run game who can hold up and not you not go, oh God, they're just getting washed out every time. And then against
one of those available in free agency whose name was DJ Reader, and you could have just had him for apparently not that much money, $6 million a year.
And you watch that Lions game where there's double team blocks, and they just get to the second level.
Yeah.
And it's you just need a guy to just stand there and deal with the double team and not get demolished. That's what you need, and I don't know that they have that. And that's honestly, it's my biggest concern with this team is defensive.
And it should be. Especially given how wide their sets are on the defensive line. And what stood out to me of all the things today, other than Drake Nugent, is if Nick Sorensen was brought in to be the face of the defensive staff, the public-facing guy, I guess he's good in being uninteresting.
He was pretty
doesn't have any
to the point.
Doesn't have any juice.
He did a joke that didn't
Did
land. Yeah, he said, I guess you guys don't know about that, to something specific.
Hilarious.
But he didn't. I mean, because Mike McDaniel was hilarious from day one.
And listen, we're not
and
saying
it took
that,
time.
But Steve Wilkes was up there just
also
being chippy.
Yeah, you also don't have to be funny. You don't have to be charming to be a good coach.
I didn't find him insightful either.
Yeah, I mean, it was.
He'll grow into it, maybe.
He gave a little bit on certain things, and then other things he didn't really want to get into. We'll see.
I guess he's smart enough to know when to talk and when not to. I mean, I don't. We just met the guy, legitimately.
Yep.
Like maybe had one conversation with him before then.
This isn't a criticism. It's just a first impression.
It was just a little. One, they're just totally leaning into shadow government. They're not even pretending it's not happening. I mean, yeah, they are trying to obfuscate a little bit when it comes to cover 3 stuff. We'll see. I mean, you'll find out on the field in a couple months. Hell, a couple days. We got OTAs coming up. How much cover 3 they want to run versus, playing a modern NFL defense, and not just being violent and finishing. It's like, oh wow, fucking groundbreaking stuff there, Nick. Wow, you guys want to tackle and hit? Fucking Niners back on top, baby. But yeah, I found him to be underwhelming at the podium, and I do think there's something to be said for the podium, particularly when you were hired to do the podium, because I don't think there's a world in which Brandon Staley wasn't the first choice to be the defensive coordinator, but they also didn't want to hire Brandon Staley, disgraced Chargers head coach. Disgraced only in a football sense.
I think that's why it took so long, right? Because they interviewed all these guys, and then we're like, it could happen any day, and then it took a couple weeks. And he's like,
I thought they were just waiting on saying Staley, waiting for like a good media day.
That might be the case. It also felt like
they were always going to keep Sorensen because it's not like he was interviewing anywhere else.
And it also felt like they wanted to bring in Staley, but they weren't comfortable with him. He's damaged goods after the way the Chargers went, so like maybe let's not make him the DC. But Sorensen like raved about him and is like, he's taught me a lot. We talked a lot of scheme. I asked him.
It's very holistic, Jake. That was the key word.
Right.
It's a holistic. Brandon Staley's doing this from a holistic mindset, and I'm like, Jesus Christ.
I asked him like how much, and I was interested in just what their process is, and he didn't glean anything, but like how much they scout offensive trends, and he did say like
that's a good question.
They assign coaches projects throughout the offseason to assess offensive trends. He's like, yeah, we go through free agents, and then we look at our stuff, and then we look at around the league, and then once that's over, then we just get into like weird projects. So it's nice to know that they're evaluating that, and I think that's where Staley's the most valuable.
No question.
I think
he was inventing the trends.
Right. I think he understands how defenses should, from like a theoretical, schematic standpoint, be attacking offenses and shutting them down, and I think that's where his value is the highest.
Listen, we would have both hired him. We would have taken the PR hit for the day and taken the win long term. The Niners
it's also the schematic difference. He ran a 3-4, so.
Yeah, and then they went out and signed all of his free agents, so they can basically run a 3-4. The other thing too is like, I will say this, and here's a note of positivity if there's anything to be gleaned. They talked a lot about, or Sorensen particularly, because he's the only one who talked, discussed versatility on defensive backs and linebackers, and hell yeah, that's been a Dieter Kurtenbach since he was 15 years old trope. We're doing it 20 years later. Versatility, versatility, versatility. I don't give a shit if you can get into the hole and tackle somebody if you are just a dead duck the second that someone runs a pass route on you as a linebacker. There's been a lot of great college linebackers, fewer and fewer with the proliferation of the spread, but like, who was that kid at Arizona, Scooby something, who was like the #1 tackler in America? He had like 200 tackles in a season. Scooby Wright. His name was Scooby Wright. And he was the best linebacker in America, unquestionably, at Arizona. And like, I think he had 200 tackles in a year. And if you didn't know football, or you didn't know the modern game or whatever, you would think this guy's a first-round pick. And he went in the 7th round, I think, to the Browns. It was a whole story. Jumped in the pool and stuff. And then he didn't make the fucking team because he couldn't go left, right, or backwards.
Right, like linebacker play, it's like you used to be able to just count on some Ohio State guy to be fine.
I mean, the Raiders are doing that, so good luck to them.
And now it's like, if you can't flip your hips and run and turn with a guy and maybe cover a tight end or a slot receiver, like, that's not going to work for an off-ball linebacker.
If you can't reasonably take a snap at safety, in an emergency.
Right, safeties and linebackers are just kind of...
It's all the same now, baby.
Right.
I remember Dieter Kurtenbach, essay, 8th grade.
Right. Fred Warner, former safety. Demetrius Flanagan Fowles.
Dre Greenlaw, former safety.
Yep.
I'm fascinated to see where this goes in the defensive backfield, because if we're talking about versatility and we're talking about innovation and flexibility on a defensive side of things, and they're not going to be this strict cover 3 team like they've hinted that they will be, but maybe that's all smokescreen.
Right.
Then, in fact, you are in a really interesting and fun area because nobody should be able to come up with more interesting ways to utilize players that can play a bunch of different places than Brandon Staley.
Right.
And I do think they might have the personnel in place.
I do too.
And they're going to need it because that defensive line is looking.
I don't mind their edge rushing group.
You like Nick Bosa?
Yes, I do. Hot take.
Bold.
I think Floyd is fine. I think Yetur Gross-Matos can be solid.
They might play Yetur Gross-Matos a little bit more on the inside too.
Yeah, they might get weird with it. Who knows?
If you know what, if the only thing that comes out of this 49ers season is they got weird with it on defense, I'll consider it a success.
It's great.
Don't look at the win-loss record.
Yeah.
Don't put that in the paper. All right.
Anything else?
No.
I think that's it.
Let's get 2 microphones working next time. My left arm hurts like fuck.
This is the first episode. Not.
Well, it's like the 170th episode.
Right.
Where we rebranded because you know what? I want to be able to talk shit on the Giants.
Right. I also want to be able to talk about the Mets. You know, occasionally.
Thanks for the sell job there, Jake.
And the Knicks. The Knicks, but the Knicks.
Go New York, New York, go.
The Knicks are gonna crumble, and it's gonna hurt me.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. But I had these few games. I did have these Jalen Brunson games, and that's what matters, folks. Thank you for joining us on whatever this was.
Bye.
As usual.